In the introduction of the last lecture, Randy says, all parents want to teach children right from wrong, what they think is important, and how to deal with the challenges life will bring. We also want them to know some stories from our own lives, often as a way to teach them how to live theirs. Like Randy, I believe in the power of story. I have strong hopes that my life can serve as an example and hopefully an inspiration to my kids, all of my kids, Paige, Braley, and every student who comes through my classroom doors. Certainly not every story I have had has been fun or pleasant. However, through every story, both good and bad, I have learned and grown. As I look back on where I am today, I realize that gray skies always turn blue eventually. I also realize that in order to see the blue skies, in order to create my own blue skies, there are some important lessons I can embrace. Today, I want to share those lessons with you. To begin, one piece of advice I would share with you is to create a plan for your own success. Benjamin Franklin once said that failing to plan is planning to fail. What I think he means is that if you don't know what your goals are, you will never be able to reach them. On the other hand, those people who are very clear about their goals will take steps needed to ensure that those goals are reached. My husband, Kevin, is athletic. He loves competing together, and so throughout our marriage, we participated in co-ed softball and volleyball teams together. And although it was fun, there was always this underlying truth that I am just not very athletic. One year, Kevin made a passing comment about how fun it would be to run together, and so I decided that for his birthday gift, I would run a 5K. I've never been a runner, so running 3.1 miles in and of itself would be a big accomplishment. But I wanted to run it at a pace where I wouldn't finish dead last. And it took me 8 months of training to be able to accomplish that goal. There were definitely days when I wanted to give up, where buying a shop vac for Kevin seemed far more logical than putting up my tennis shoes. But because I had a goal and a specific plan, I was ultimately able to reach that goal. Had he just said, I'm going to start running, I don't think that I ever would have made it. I had to have a point of time, a timeline, a plan as to how I would accomplish my goal. Running my first 5K might seem like a little goal without much significance, but the principle is the same. If you want to have a good job, go to college, or own your own home, you need to take small steps as to how to achieve those things. Success doesn't just happen to people. You must create a plan to reach those goals and never ever give up on the journey to your success. Think about each of the things that you are hoping to achieve in life. Get real about what it takes to get there, and then make a plan so that you can enjoy the benefits of your success. Second, plan for the storms of life, and when they happen, don't forget to look for the blessings. Every single person will face a storm in life. These are the things that beat you down, steal your hope, or cause you to question your own ability and value. For me, one of the most recent storms I've faced was my dad's death. In 2016, at 65 years old, my dad died of a heart attack. His death left many people deeply grieved, but although I grieved losing my dad, I was constantly amazed and thankful by the people and the stories that surrounded his death. Ultimately, I found myself celebrating his life rather than grieving his death. This was so important because not only did I lose my dad, but my daughters lost their grandpa, and my reaction to his death was the foundation for how they would view death for the rest of their lives. I want my girls to know that death is part of the process of life, and although we miss their grandpa, there was so much to celebrate about his life and what we had with him. Even today, we focus on those things. We celebrate my dad's life often with donuts, stories, and a whole lot of fart humor. When my dad died, I had a choice: mourn and be sad, which admittedly I did, or focus on the positive things that were clearly happening all around me. We all have choices in life. We can become victims of the storms, or we can spin with them until we find the blessing. I encourage you to search for the blessings in your storms. Sometimes you're really going to have to search. There might not even be an immediate blessing. But the more you choose to look for it, the easier they'll become to find. Another important lesson that I have learned is to choose your friends wisely and then invest in them liberally. Several years ago, a man named Christopher Stagg told me that you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. What he meant was that the values of the people you hang out with are a direct reflection of who you will become. Knowing that relationships are investments, making smart decisions about who you invest your time into and who will invest their time back into you is crucial. During high school, I was pretty concerned about being popular. I was pretty outgoing and I knew a lot of people, and although many people would have said they were my friends, I remember spending most of my high school career very lonely. Since all of my relationships were superficial, I didn't even know who to sit with at the lunch table, and I was rarely invited to hang out on a Friday night. My anxiety about not being good enough and my continual effort to do the right thing, wear the right clothes, and say the right things tore at my confidence. Oftentimes, my personal values were called into question. Then, during one of my activities, I met a group of 4 girls who I became very close with. We found that we shared values and we developed camaraderie with each other that truly helped us through those teenage years. I remember a lot of weekend nights sitting in my friend Dana's bathroom, cutting our hair, giggling about boys, and in general just having fun. I processed the most difficult times of my life in the homes of these 3 friends. Dana, Ravon, and Rachel taught me that a few close friendships was worth far more than having 100 acquaintances. As an adult, it's even more important to find and maintain these friendships. My husband is truly my best friend. However, every mom needs a few good mom friends. I don't always have a lot of time for my girlfriends, so I have to be choosy about who gets that precious commodity. In a book called Storm Sisters, I read about the value of investing into 2 to 3 close friends, developing the type of friends who will be there to help you weather the storms of life. These relationships don't just happen. They are a direct result of intentional time and commitment. These days I invest regularly into 3 close friends. I have other friends who I have coffee with occasionally or see them at a ball game or at church, but Jill and Bonnie and Julie, they're my girls. They are the people who hear all about my bad days, get to see me in my bathing suit, or who just sit and do nothing with me. They are the people that I turn to when the storms of life come, and who I'd drop everything in a moment if they ever needed me to. As I think about how this applies to you, I would remind you to think about the people that you spend time with. They are a direct reflection of who you will become. Choose people who will make you better, who believe in your values, and who won't force you to question whether or not you have any value. Then really invest in those relationships. Invest time, invest money, invest any other resource that you have. The relationships you form are the most valuable thing you will ever have in life. In addition, in life, don't be a slave to money. I know what it's like to come from a family that doesn't have a lot of money. To say that lack of money dictated decisions in my family growing up would be an understatement. We were essentially slaves to the money. Debt chased us, and we were constantly wondering if we would have enough to pay the bills, to eat dinner, and to get the basic necessities in life. I come from a family that was on welfare, and even with help, we struggled to make ends meet. Having that kind of background can make one believe that just having money would solve all of the problems. And so when I left for college, my ultimate goal was that: make money. I thought that as long as I made a lot of money, I had a lot of money, life would be easy and I'd be happy. However, as I look back on my 20 years since then, this is far more true. Happiness actually comes when you don't let money control your life, when money is not the deciding factor in what you will or will not do.
Muna Hussein, please come to the office. Muna Hussein.
When I was in college, I had an opportunity to take a semester of classes while traveling Europe on a cruise ship with my lifelong friend. I turned down that opportunity because of money. I was afraid it would cost too much money, and I was reluctant to deplete my savings for such an extravagance. However, as an adult, I see how little money it actually was. Because I was so concerned about having a lot of money, I missed out on an opportunity to explore the world with my oldest friend, And as I look at it from adult eyes, I realize that it was an opportunity that was probably well within my reach. In contrast, several years ago, my husband and I were approached by the possibility of allowing a college student to live with us. We talked about the additional cost of having another body in the house, including the cost of a basement remodel to create a room for her. And despite our apprehension, we decided to invite Kelby to move in with us. Throughout the 4 years that Kelby lived with us, we never once struggled financially to feed her or to cover any of the additional expenses that occurred because of her living there. In fact, we often found that we had way more than we needed. When we went to build the room in the bathroom in the basement for her, we were gifted with the exact amount of money it took to complete the project. As our girls grew up, we had a plethora of outstanding young men and women who poured into their lives. We were blessed in ways that we could have never purchased with money. Had we made the decision regarding Kelby's stay with us solely on the financial impact of her living there, it just wouldn't have made sense to allow it. Ultimately, having money is important, but what is more important is not being a slave to money, not letting money control your life. If you can somehow not have debt and save a little money each month so that you have the resources when opportunities arise, you can live in a way where money doesn't control you. The ability to do this has very little with how much money you make in life and far more with what you do with the money that you have. So if at all possible, I encourage you, live in a way where money isn't the deciding factor for all of your decisions. Next, no matter how much you plan, the unexpected is bound to happen. Live in a way, if you plan for it, you won't be overwhelmed by it. At 23 years old, I had my life before me. I had a plan as to how it would go. I was almost finished with college, engaged to my future husband, and enjoying the fruits of a lot of hard work. Then came Christmas Eve. My parents sat my 2 brothers and I on the couch and announced that my dad had just learned he had another daughter. I had a sister. As the story goes, when my dad was 17 years old, he went to a party, got drunk, and had a one-night stand. He never saw the woman again. Let this be a lesson to all of you. You never know when your past will show up again. Although we tried to be very welcoming and inclusive, adding a new member to your family dynamic so late in life is hard. Our childhood, although meager, was always full of love and laughter. My sister did not have the same advantages. As she looked at us, she was hurt and jealous. My dad spent the rest of his life trying to make up for the fact that he wasn't there for my sister growing up, often at the expense of time and affection for the rest of the family. Adding my sister and her family to my family caused a lot of frustration and tension, but it was especially hard for me. My sister despised me. She constantly created a competition between the two of us regarding who my dad loved or valued more. She often made up stories about things that I would do or say because she was insecure. In a desperate attempt to help her feel loved, my parents and brother accused me of things I didn't ever do, things I couldn't have done being as I lived several states away. I wish I could say that over the past 16 years a bridge has been built, but in truth, division still exists. This division was exacerbated even more about 3 years ago when my sister was in a car accident and suffered a traumatic brain injury. Her emotions and brain processes are volatile, and with my dad's death, she feels even more isolated. At 23 years old, I didn't plan on having to come face to face with the consequences of my dad's adolescent drug and alcohol abuse. I didn't plan to redefine my family structure or have my wedding be a coming out party for my long-lost sister. I didn't plan on having a sister with a TBI. Yet each of those things have happened. In life, no matter how much you plan, things happen that are out of your control. That's the only thing you can truly plan for, so expect it. Someday, someone will die. You may lose a job, or you may face catastrophe. Maybe like me, someday someone else's life choices will have a major impact on your life. No matter what, if we're prepared for moments like these, when they come, they won't seem so desperate, and we'll be able to handle them with grace and dignity. Probably the most important piece of advice I can pass on to you is always give more than you take. We live in a